Hey ladies, welcome back to another video of Kenya Knows. Welcome back to the huddle. This is my first video back in a couple of weeks. I have been very busy planning out content and kind of shifting my focus a little bit to how and when I will be posting and what I want them to look like. For now, I really want to focus on giving you the best possible long form content on my YouTube channel, whether I'm posting weekly or bi weekly, 2 times a week, a few times a month. That's just going to depend on just how great my videos are because I want to give you the best content possible. Anyways, let's just get right into the video because I am excited for what I am going to talk about in this particular video. The upcoming NFL season is already feeling like a little bit of a roller coaster, and some fan bases that I have noticed are very stressed out because of the rough and tough roads ahead, or the fact that some of their players are acting a complete and total fool off the field. Today, I am going to be talking about which NFL team have the toughest schedules for this upcoming season. Plus, I am going to be talking about all of the off the field drama. Like, what is actually happening with Jaxson Dart right now, and the responses from some of his teammates, including Abdul and Jameis Winston. You know the drill. Grab your coffee, grab a snack, put on your favorite Joe Burrow shirt, and let's dive into it. All right. So, one of the teams that I think have the hardest schedule for the upcoming season is the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals have the hardest schedule out of every single team this upcoming season. The first 13 games alone are going to be rough. This is a team that right now has no idea who their starting quarterback is going to be. I mean, Jacoby Brissett at this point is still holding out of OTAs due to a contract dispute. He feels like in his mind, for some reason, he thinks that if he is going to be the full-time starter for the year, that he should be paid like one. Now, I'm not saying that he is completely in the wrong here, because if you look at his stats from last season, yeah, they weren't winning games because the Cardinals did go 3-14, 1-7 at home, 2-7 on the road. But Jacoby Brissett's individual stats were actually pretty decent. Like, he threw for 3,300 yards, 24 touchdowns to 8 picks, and he had a 94% quarterback rating. Like, that is actually pretty good. Like, those are like rookie year average quarterback stats that he put up. So I can understand where he's coming from, but like, my biggest issue is that it doesn't even matter who is going to be their starting quarterback for this year because this team is bad. I mean, even with the addition of Jeremiah Love, and yes, they still have Marvin Harrison Jr., the rest of their running backs on the roster are either injured or coming off of injury and are very uncertain. And my thing is the fact that this team, with a new head coach in Mike LaFleur and their rookie running back in Jeremiah Love, they got dealt with a grueling schedule that I don't think they're ready for. Like, let's look at their schedule for a second. The first 13 weeks I mentioned, they open the year off the bat with the LA Chargers, and they're at the LA Chargers. Then they're playing a home game against Seattle. Then they're at San Fran. Then they're at New York. Then after that game, they're out playing a home game against the Lions. Then they're at the Rams. Then they play a home game against the Broncos. And then they're at Dallas. Then they play at Seattle. Then they have a home game against the Rams. Now, this is just week 10. But then they play at Kansas City. Then they play a home game against the Commanders, which is probably their easiest matchup out of every game I just mentioned. And then the 13th week game is against Philly, and that's a home game. So all of those games, the first 13 weeks of the season, with the exception of the Washington Commanders, they play back-to-back games against teams who are in or almost going to be in the playoffs the previous year. they're not playing against any easy teams, especially on defense. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles have a great defense. The Kansas City Chiefs, I think, even though their defense was on the decline last year, they still have a really good defensive coordinator in Steve Spagnuolo who will make any defensive player look good. So that's going to be a tough matchup regardless of the offensive deficiencies that the Kansas City Chiefs have. I mean, playing 2 games against the Rams in the first 13 weeks, that is not going to be an easy feat. Playing 2 games against the Seahawks in the first 13 weeks, not an easy game. Playing a offense like the Cowboys, again, not easy. I mean, they were handed the worst schedule possible. This is a team that is probably going to be fighting for the #1 overall pick come 2027. All right, another team that has a very hard schedule, in my opinion, is the Carolina Panthers. I mean, even though I think the overall consensus of their schedule this upcoming season is kind of like they have a little bit of a middle of the pack in terms of level of difficulty in terms of their schedule. But this is a team who won their division while having an 8-9 record. And during their first playoff game since 2017, they played an outstanding game against the Rams, which to everybody's surprise, they almost won that game. Bryce Young passed for 260 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Teterow McMillan had a pretty good game, hauling in 7 receptions for 81 yards. But that was against the Rams defense that was pretty terrible in the back half of the season. Bryce Young is under so much pressure to improve as a quarterback and as a vocal leader. We've already seen him be more vocal during OTAs.
Raining anymore. Clean it up now. Not raining. Come on, we need better execution.
But I need to see him have better performances, especially against top tier defenses. And that is why I think their schedule is actually pretty hard. Because when you look at their schedule, they face some tough defenses such as, Cleveland, Philly, Denver, the Saints, who they sucked against last year, the Baltimore Ravens, Minnesota, and Seattle. And these are all must-win games for them because they struggled a lot against top-tier defenses last year. I mean, they opened the season with the Chicago Bears. Then they play at Atlanta. They play at Cleveland against one of the best defenses in the league. Then they play a home game against Detroit. Their defense has not been very good, especially at the third level with the secondary, but it's still going to be a tough matchup for them. Then they have a bye week, an early bye week. Then they come off their bye week, and then they play Philly. After that, they play a home game against Tampa Bay. Then they play at Green Bay. Then they play a home game against Denver. Again, a very tough defense, especially with that defensive line isn't in concern. But hey, we're going to see a good matchup with Tet and Pastor Ted. I actually cannot wait for that. Then they play at New Orleans. Again, that's a team that they cannot beat. It's like the New Orleans Saints, for some reason, has their number. They lost to them twice last year. Then they play the Ravens, a home game against the Ravens. That's going to be a really hard, tough matchup because the Ravens defense, they weren't great last year, but it's the Ravens. They're known for their defenses, so it's going to be a tough matchup regardless. Then they play at Tampa. Tampa does not have a very good defense. Then they play at Minnesota. Minnesota, with Brian Flores as their defensive coordinator, they're always going to have a very tough defense. Then they play a home game against the Saints. Then they play versus Cincinnati. Now, Cincinnati, that is my team. Go Bengals. Who Dey Nation. Shout out to you. Our defense is going to be sneaky good. I don't care what anybody says. We have Dexter Lawrence. We have a rookie in Cassius Howe. We have a second-year player in Shamar Stewart who is going to get better. I mean, our defensive secondary, I think, is very underrated, especially when last year's concerned. Our safety room last year was the worst out of any safety room in the league. That was our biggest problem when it came to our secondary. So don't sleep on this Bengals defense. That could be a tough matchup for the Panthers. But they also play at Pittsburgh the week after that. Then they have a home game against Seattle. Then they play the Falcons on week 18. So they play a lot of tough defenses. And that is going to be the games that are going to be must watch, especially when we're thinking about how inconsistent Bryce Young was. He has to play good against these top tier defenses, or even if they do make the playoffs, they're not going to be able to beat any of these teams because if they suck against these top tier defenses. All right, another team that I think has a very sneaky hard schedule is the Jacksonville Jaguars. when you take into account the pieces that they lost during the offseason, such as Devin Lloyd, Travis Etienne, Andrew Wingard, Greg Newsome II, and the fact that they did not have a good draft at all, they are going to rely on a lot of developmental pieces that they did draft, and I am not confident in that right now, especially for a team that was really good last year. Had they decided to run it back with the team that they had last year, I think that they could be a Super Bowl contending team. I really do, but I don't feel that way about them this season. This is what happens when you give up on a team too quickly. The first 6 weeks of their schedule is grueling. They play Cleveland, Denver, New England, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, and then Houston. That is the first 6 weeks of their schedule. Of course, the Bengals will be their most underrated defense, like I said before. But starting off the season playing a lot of top three defenses in the league is no easy feat. They are playing against defenses that all finished fourth, first, 13th, second, and fifth last year. All of those defenses are playing against in the first 6 weeks. That is insane. And I am not that high on Trevor Lawrence. Even with Travis Hunter playing solely on defense, Brian Thomas Jr. had a rough season last year. Parker Washington was probably one of their best wide receivers, and getting Jacoby Myers was a big jump for them, a big boost up for their offense. But still, these are going to be tough defenses, and there is a chance that they go like, I don't know, maybe 2-4, maybe like they could start off the season with a losing record because of the hard top tier defenses that they do face. Another team that has a really hard schedule this season is the Kansas City Chiefs. With or without Patrick Mahomes, this is going to be a hard year for them because they had a pretty decent free agency getting Kenneth Walker. They also had a very interesting draft when they traded up for Mansour Delane in the first round. They got a steal in the first round in Peter Woods, and then they snagged our Mason Thomas in the second round. All of them were standout defensive pieces on their respective college teams, but this offense is still bad. All of their wide receivers are either injury prone or in trouble with the cops every offseason. Travis Kelce has regressed, and let's be honest, so has Patrick Mahomes. He is coming off of an ACL injury, but even prior to that, his deep ball accuracy was terrible the last 2 seasons. He doesn't have a Tyreek Hill to save him anymore, and it shows. What makes their schedule so hard is the fact that they are playing like these stretches, these 3-game stretches or these 5-game stretches week by week, where it's like they're playing these tough teams, such as the Chargers, such as the Seahawks, such as the Broncos. And then once week 12 arrives, then they play the Bills, the Rams, the Bengals, the Patriots, the Niners, and the Chargers. That's a 5-game stretch at the back half of the season, mind you. That is going to be very tough for them. Like they can go 9-8 and maybe make the playoffs, but I don't even have them making the playoffs again for this year because again, I don't think this offense is good enough, especially when they have to face the Rams defense, the Bengals sneaky good defense, the Patriots defense, the Niners defense, and the Chargers defense. I don't have any faith in this Chiefs offense for this upcoming season. This is a rebuild year, I think, and I think they'll probably be back in Super Bowl contention in 2027. The Raiders also have a really hard schedule. I actually didn't think it was as hard the first time I saw it, and then when I really looked at it again, I was like, ooh, this might be very, very difficult for them because they only have like 4 games on their schedule, which is their week 1 game against the Dolphins, the week 8 game against the Jets, the week 16 game against the Titans, and the week 17 game against the Cardinals. That are easy, but every other game on their schedule will be a challenge for them. This is a team that you can argue got really lucky during free agency and during the draft. I mean, obviously picking Fernando Mendoza number 1 overall was to be expected, but no one saw Jamar McCoy fall into the 4th round. Now, obviously, he may not even play this season, but if Jamar can get healthy, he can be one of the best cornerbacks in the league. They got lucky that the Ravens not only didn't want to pay Tyler Linderbaum, but then they turned around and reneged on their trade with the Raiders for Max Crosby. So now the Raiders have Max Crosby back. And this is a sneaky sneaky good defense, if you ask me. I mean, they could be top 15 when they added Nakobe Dean, and now you have Max Crosby back. Like, this could be a really good defense. But the schedule itself is really hard because they do play a lot of top tier offenses. Opening the year with Miami Dolphins, that should be an interesting game. But that's an easy win in my opinion. But then they play the Chargers, who is going to be a really good offense. I think they play the Saints, who I think is going to be a really good offense with Tyler Show, Jordan Tyson, and hopefully a healthy Chris Olave. Like, those are going to be, that could be a sneaky really good offense this year. But then they play Kansas City Chiefs, who I don't think have a good offense, but have a better quarterback right now. They play the Patriots, who, if they get A.J. Brown, that's going to be a difficult offense to face. They play the Buffalo Bills with, Josh Allen. That's always going to be a difficult offense to face. And they play the Rams, probably the most difficult offense they're going to face in the beginning of the season. They play the Jets, who the Jets have tons of really good offensive weapons who can be good, but it's going to be kind of like a learning year for a lot of them. So I'm not really all that worried about the Jets, but then they play at San Fran in week 9. That's always going to be a difficult offense when you take into consideration who the 49ers coach is. Then they play the Seattle Seahawks, a home game. And, with JSN, with Sam Darnold, like, that's going to be a difficult offense to play against. And then after that, they play the Denver Broncos, which is probably the most guaranteed loss they're going to have. They play the Browns, who they have good offensive weapons, but it's going to be the defense that's going to be their biggest problem. They have a bye in week 13, and then they face the Chargers. Again, another good offense. Then they have to play the Broncos. After they play the Chargers, that's going to be difficult. They play the Titans, they play the Cardinals, and then they play the Chiefs to end the season. So I say all this to say they play more top tier offenses than they do defenses. But even though I think the Raiders can be sneaky good on defense, I still don't think they have enough pieces, especially when it comes to their secondary, to be able to stop all these wide receivers they're going to have to face, such as Jalen Waddle, a rookie Cardell Tate, a DJ Moore, an AJ Brown. Like, I don't think they have the cornerback to stop those wide receivers right now. The schedule makers are making the Rams earn their Super Bowl this year because the Rams did not get lucky at all with the schedule that they were handed. They have a very, very hard schedule for this season. It's like the first 5 weeks they will face the Niners, the Giants, Denver, Philly, and Buffalo. That's the first 5 weeks. But what really makes their schedule so tough is the fact that even though the middle of their schedule is pretty weak, after their bye week, they face a 7-game stretch to end the season that I think will make or break their Super Bowl championship hopes and dreams, because they play Green Bay, Kansas City, the Niners, Dallas, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and then Seattle to end the season. That the schedule makers are not playing with them this year. They need to earn that Super Bowl, and the back half of the season is going to really show us if the additions they made to their secondary is what's going to take them over the top, because they did not do that in the draft. Because, like, the Rams did get better defensively when they stole both of the starting corners from the Chiefs. However, they really shot themselves in the foot when they drafted Ty Simpson at number 13. I said it before and I will say it again. They should have drafted Mekhi Lemon. They desperately needed that one piece that would instantly make them Super Bowl contenders. But instead, they chose to draft for the future. Didn't make a lick of sense to me, even though they tried to explain their decision multiple times. But at this point, it doesn't matter because now they are stuck with who they got. Enough of the schedule stuff. Let's jump into all of the dramatics that have been happening these past few weeks. I want to talk about something that I feel is important to shed some light on. A week or two ago, Jaxson Dart introduced Trump at his own rally, and let's just say it did not go over so well on social media, nor did it go with some of his own teammates.
What an honor, what a privilege it is to be here, and without further ado, I'm grateful, I'm honored, I'm pleasured to introduce the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America, President Donald J. Trump.
But what was the most shocking was the response from Abdul and Jameis Winston. Abdul Carter actually took to Twitter first and tweeted this. Now, of course, the response to his response was divided. Some people thought that he should have handled it differently. I felt that was pretty hypocritical considering the situation. I don't think he should have handled it differently at all. If Jaxson Dart had the balls to show up to a Trump rally chanting, go blue, in a majority blue state, mind you, then Abdul Carter has every right to respond in the way that he did. I do think what Abdul Carter said during his press conference was the perfect way to respond to the media and to the Giants fan base. He had this to say.
First off, I want to say that some things are bigger than football, and this is one of those things. Jaxson is one of our leaders. He's the face of our franchise. He not only represents himself and what he does, but he represents all of us. And that goes for anybody who wears a Giants uniform. But if he chooses to align himself with a man like President Trump, it's my responsibility, based on what I believe and what I stand on, to not only show my teammates that I'm against that, but to show the world. And that doesn't mean that we have to spread hate. It doesn't mean that me and Jaxson hate each other or we have beef. I sit next to Jaxson every day, every team meeting, we close, we talk. As long as we make sure we got the same goal as a team and our goals align, which they do, and I feel like that's all that matters. So I just want to move past this, and yeah, that's it.
This is the perfect response to this entire situation. And not only that, Jameis Winston that put his 100 cents in, because he talks a lot, who, by the way, I think Jameis Winston is one of the best and most improved human beings in the NFL. But he went on to say this.
I think it reflects what togetherness looks like in terms of we don't have to agree. We don't have to respect or even understand people's perspective, but I think we should support their perspective because that's what they believe in, right? So I think these two young guys being resilient and showing that uncomfortable situations and coming to not a compromise, but coming to a position of strength, of authority, of the impact that they have, that we have as athletes with this platform to the world is so good for them to experience because, guys, they were drafted together. What you don't have a tighter bond than that. They sit next to each other in the team meeting room, right? And that's what we see in this world. Sometimes we try to normalize just opinions, people's opinions. Everybody want to jump on, oh, he said this, she did that, but we don't normalize togetherness. We don't normalize perspective, and everyone has that. But at the end of the day, as a team, it is our burning desire to find ways to unify, to come together, and to be great football players. And what does football encompass? What does sport encompass? Sport encompasses diversity. Sport encompasses people that literally we get the chance to experience failures and success with all of y'all, the people that write, the people that sit there and watch in the stands, and the own viewers that just have their opinion. We all are experiencing this together. So I think a lot of people like to focus on the macro of like, look what he did or look what she said, but we don't focus on how we can see the seed of good and the unity and the ability to handle tough situations or tough circumstances that this team is dealing with that has nothing to do with football.
So I say all this to say that Jameis might have encouraged even me to change my whole perspective on how I view social media, because I am someone who doesn't judge anyone else based on who and what they believe in. However, it does get to a point when someone believes in someone or something and it's mostly based on hate towards someone else's beliefs, or it's just downright ignorant. And at the end of the day, I think what Jaxson Dart did was just that. It was very ignorant. Even though I know he made a conscious decision to do what he did, he clearly didn't think of the consequences of his choices and of his actions and how that may affect his teammates, especially considering this is someone who uses our culture, by the way, because it looks cool on him. And I made sure to call him out on that as well. I called him out on his ignorance in that situation. However, I do feel that there is room for growth and that we as a society should give him a little bit of a chance to show that, but I am looking at him a little sideways from here on out. All right, ladies, that was a long video, but that is the end of this video. This is episode 13 of Kenya Knows. I am Kenya Winston. Please make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below to my YouTube video and my YouTube channel. I am on the road to 100 subscribers, so I would really like to hit that mark before the summer officially begins. So please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below and share this video with your girlfriends. And I will see you next time for another video. Bye.